years old, and then all of a sudden they had one last week and they had two today. But unfortunately, not able to convert those block punts into points, even though they were set up in incredible field position. Also, the turnover battle, one in which Mike O'Hara harped on in our pregame show. You have to win the turnover battle. The Lions did not, with 3 interceptions thrown by the quarterbacks, multiple, plural, more than one, Matthew Stafford, until he was taken into the tent, and then Chase Daniel throwing one. So it was a tough day all around for this Lions football team.
Well, you mentioned those 2 blocked punts. Definitely key moments in the game, and we will discuss that later on. But when I say missed opportunities, they did turn one of those into a touchdown, but not the other one of them. And it was moments like that in this game where the Lions really just missed opportunities to turn things into points. And at one point in this game, the Detroit Lions were only down 17 points, and they had a missed field goal and 2 interceptions in the red zone. Those are missed opportunities.
Yeah, and especially when you look back to the end of the first half, you're talking about the game at that point is 13-10. Defense has got to get a stop. If the defense gets a stop, there's an opportunity right there to be maybe looking at things a little bit differently. Going down 3 points into halftime. Instead, Minnesota marches down the field in under a minute and 10 seconds and is able to put a touchdown up on the board, and it's 20-10 at that point in the football game. And you realize that the window in the margin for error in the NFL is so very small that anytime you do have an opportunity, you better capitalize, because the other team is definitely, they're going to, and that's really the story of today.
Absolutely. Well, another story for this defense and a reason why they struggled today was that they were unable to stop running back Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had 22 carries for 206 yards today, 2 touchdowns. You're looking at the team comparisons here. Look how many rushing yards the Minnesota Vikings had today. 275 rushing yards, 206 of those are from Dalvin Cook. This team comparison really tells a big story of the game. The 5 touchdowns to the Lions, 2, and the Lions turning the ball over 3 times, the Minnesota Vikings protecting the football, but certainly being unable to stop that run game again this week was a big part.
Oh, it's huge. Dalvin Cook with 2 back-to-back performances last week at Green Bay and then this week against our Lions that were simply historic. And it was something to really behold and something to really watch, because here is a guy who's been super talented, just hasn't really necessarily been able to stay on the field, because of injury. He's only missed 1 game this season. He has been ripping and roaring the entire year, and these back-to-back football games is something that you, as a football fan, you actually have to kind of appreciate. When you're averaging 9.4 yards per carry, and obviously one of those was the 70-yard scamper, in which he went left tackle, disappeared, and then reappeared and popped out, and the next thing you know, he was just running with like smoke behind him. In 2 touchdowns, Dalvin Cook was incredible, and I think that when you have a run game, those are some preposterous numbers. You can't really expect to see that week in and week out, but when you have a run game that you've established, that makes Kirk Cousins' job a whole heck of a lot easier. He was 13 of 20 for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns, and when you compare a running game like that with some passing success, that's a winning formula, and that's what we saw from the Minnesota Vikings today. So credit to them, because they knew exactly what they wanted to do today, and they executed.
Yeah, I do a little Instagram takeover on the Lions Instagram at halftime, and people usually ask, okay, if the Lions are down, what do they need to do to turn things around in the second half? Well, my answer today was threefold. First, that you needed to settle down on offense like you did just before the half when you had that score to kind of bring it within 3 points there. But then you needed to stop Dalvin Cook, and you needed to get a takeaway. Instead of getting takeaways in the second half, they gave up the football, and they were still unable to stop Dalvin Cook. And we talked all pregame show long, Anthony, about how the Lions needed to stop the run today. They couldn't do that. And in the 3 games that they have won so far this season, they have been able to stop the run. You look at the game against the Cardinals, they stopped Kyler Murray and company. He was not able to run the football. They stopped Jacksonville's run game. And then they limited what Todd Gurley could do, save for the 1 touchdown that they're pretty glad that they gave up there against the Atlanta Falcons. But those have been the games where they have found the key to success, and it's been in stopping the run. They didn't do that today, and they fell to the Vikings.
I think that if you were to ask Lomas Brown this question right here, he would say the same exact thing. Football for is complex and complicated as it can get in the new era of football. Being able to provide some sort of air raid offense down the field, try to push the ball down the field, the skill position guys on the perimeter. At the end of the day, if you can run the football effectively and you can stop the run, you're going to put your team in a position to win a lot of football games in this league. It sounds rudimentary, but it really is the truth. And you just mentioned it. In the 3 wins the Lions have had, they have done really well in the run defensive aspect of the game. In the games that they have lost, they've allowed, guys like Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook this week. Guys have been able to run wild, and it happens at the point of attack. You look at some of the guys that are on, that were inactive today. And, of course, inactives will always play a role. Minnesota kind of rolling to just about full strength. And offensively, being able to give that ball to a workhorse back in Dalvin Cook, a guy that, is very patient with his blocks, but then also has the explosive speed to run away from guys. That's a lethal combination as well. And for the Detroit Lions, they didn't do enough in the run game in order to, be able to force Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota offense to become one-dimensional, which is really, that was the goal, force Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota offense to become one-dimensional, which is really, that was the goal of today's game. If you could shut down Dalvin Cook and you could make Kirk Cousins beat you, that was a pretty good winning formula. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Well, that's really what the Vikings did to stop the Detroit Lions. They limited their run game, and then they went ahead and made the Lions one-dimensional. And then you look at what they forced Matthew Stafford to do. He threw 2 interceptions there in the red zone before he went out of the game with what was called a brain injury. He left the game, was assessed on the sideline. And here's his statistics leading up to him leaving the game. 22 attempts, or 22 completed passes, 211 yards today, 1 touchdown to those 2 interceptions. Tough on the passer rating for Matthew Stafford there today. Really, this game had gotten away from them before Matthew Stafford left the game, but then Chase Daniel steps in. He was needed today, considering what the week was like for the Detroit Lions. Chase Daniel really had a huge responsibility on his shoulders this week, stepping in practice with Matthew Stafford not in the building. So he was very prepared to be able to step in, but it seemed like the game was kind of out of hand a little bit by the time he did.
Yeah, and if you go back to the first interception from Matthew Stafford, the Lions are looking at 1st and 10 from the Minnesota 20-yard line, and that was an opportunity, and it really felt like the drive was rolling. And at that point, okay, sure, you're down 17 points, but if you can get a score and get a stop and find a way to, punch another one in the end zone, you have yourself a whole new football game with a lot of possessions left to go. Unfortunately, at 1st and 10 from the 20, that first interception happens, but then the defense gets the stop that they needed, and the special teams, they pick up the punt block, and then on the second pick, it looked like it was forced to the back of the end zone. Kerryon Johnson might have been open underneath at the goal line, but Stafford tried to thread the needle, and unfortunately, it just ended up in the hands of the Minnesota Vikings, and that's tough because when you have those opportunities, you have to capitalize.
Well, the Lions are in a tough position now, considering just 2 games ago they were at 3-3. They had brought their season to 500, and now they have dropped to 3-5. They are halfway through the year now, 8 games down, 8 games to go. They're in a very tough position now, Anthony. What can you look at when you look at this game and say, hey, maybe here were some positives, here are some things that they can look at and take away as they move into this next game against the Washington football team?
Well, one is special teams for sure. That's been a really bright spot. It's been from, the punter, Jack Fox, all season long. He's been incredible when you talk about being able to flip the field and gain field position. I think there are a couple drives in which the Lions will be able to look back on tape. The one that led to the first interception, I thought that was a great drive. The diversity from running the football, throwing the football, being able to push the football a little bit, intermediate to downfield. No Kenny Golladay today, so that takes away a big threat. But I thought guys like TJ Hawkinson and Danny Amendola did a really nice job of trying to fill that role, and DeAndre Swift as well, being able to catch it. I was surprised at Adrian Peterson getting five targets today at minimum in the pass game, but hey, trying to get as versatile as you can. So I think that you try to isolate some of the areas that you saw you had success in, and then from there be able to try to game plan for next week against the Washington team that is struggling. But they have your guy, Scary Terry McLaurin out there, and somebody's got to find a way to defend that guy, because we've seen the Lions be a little susceptible to the deep ball when playing that tight press man coverage. It hasn't necessarily been as successful some weeks as it has been others. We saw Jefferson today, get loose and get wild on Oruwariye. So it's a tough uphill battle every week. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you call him my guy because I picked him earlier today in our fantasy picks. I did pick Terry McLaurin as my wide receiver. Didn't turn out too badly for me.
Not too bad.
We will see who wins the Jess Trophy next week. But we, have a lot of fun with those fantasy picks. The Lions really spread the ball around today, so there wasn't one guy who really stuck out with a lot of statistics today. 10 different receivers, including the fullback. The fullback even caught a pass today. That's what Darrell Bevell talked about this week in his press conference. Not having Kenny Golladay out there, they have a lot of playmakers and guys that they feel like they can pass the ball around to. Here's the comparison between Danny Amendola Amendola and Marvin Jones Jr. I was talking during the game, Anthony, that we did not give Danny Amendola enough credit pregame for how he could step up in lieu of Kenny Golladay being out there. And he had himself a pretty good day out there, averaging 11 yards per catch. He had 7 receptions for 77 yards. Of course, Marvin Jones Jr. had the Lions touchdown early in the game. But pretty nice day for Danny Amendola. And then TJ Hawkinson also stepped in and had a nice day as well. 5 catches for 39 yards, an average of 7.8 yards a carry, and then had that second touchdown.
Yeah, and I really think with Danny Amendola, I think the word that comes to mind when I think of Danny Amendola is consistency. You know, he's always going to be in the right spot at the right time. You can depend on him. He's always consistent, being able to catch the football as well. So a very nice safety valve there. TJ Hawkinson continues to impress. 5 receptions on 8 targets. I think Amendola was like 7 of 10, 7 receptions of 10 targets. So I think that for a majority of the game, and overall the passing statistics, the wide receivers having 305 yards and 2 scores, you know, you look at the numbers would lead you to believe that, okay, you know, they had some success, but just wasn't the case in the win column today due to the turnovers.
All right. Well, Anthony, we want to hear from the head coach on this one and hear what he had to say about this game. He spoke with reporters just a few minutes ago in Minnesota. Here's what he said.
Hope everybody can hear me okay. Obviously, not a great game for us. Certainly didn't play very well. From the start, we got behind and, put ourselves in a situation where we had to try to catch up. So, really give Minnesota credit. Obviously, they played a great game today. We did not. We know that we've got to go out and do a better job in a lot of areas. Certainly, we got to stop the run. Their run game is some of the best in the league, and obviously Cook is one of the best guys after contact, in the league, and he proved that again today. And we know we can't turn the ball over. We got to finish those drives, and we got to get points, certainly, and we can't have penalties and things like that hurt us through the course of the game. So we just got to go back to work. We got to take a good look at ourselves and get this thing back on track here and settle things down. Starts with me, starts with coaching, and we got to go out and play better on Sundays. I think the guys are working through the course of the week, certainly trying to do everything they can to handle the different scenarios that come up through the course of the week. But we got to come out on Sundays and play better. So that's really the bottom line. All right, questions?
Tim? You mentioned it with your opening comments. You knew how good this Minnesota running game was and how good Dalvin was playing. Is that maybe the most disappointing part of today? It was just knowing that that's the part you had to stop, and you guys are kind of really getting beat up in the trenches today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody knows that when you play Minnesota, you're going to have to stop the running, and the guy still runs the ball extremely well. He's very, very strong. I would say the extremely impressive part is his yards after contact. When he gets in there and he makes contact, he's still just moving and driving. He's got great leg strength. I think you really see that in person and his ability to break tackles, and get through there. So, he's a very, very good player. They do a great job up front blocking for him.
Rothstein?
Hey, Matt. Basically, Sheila Ford-Hamp before the season said that major improvement was the goal this year. If you look at how you've played against Minnesota since the start of your tenure, that hasn't been there. Why haven't you had any improvement against Minnesota in your 5 games against them?
Obviously just going to speak on today's game. Like I said, I think we didn't coach well enough and we didn't play good enough. We got behind early. I thought they did a great job in their opening drive with their script. They moved the ball right down there. They had a great combination of run plays and then, the play action chunks. They really took advantage of the intermediate part of the coverage right there. I think they hit some really good balls. They converted a couple big plays on 3rd down and then a penalty, obviously, on 3rd down. I think that, really propelled a couple of their drives. They got good skill players. It's a good team. And, I think they did a great job, obviously, turning the ball over on defense. So from that aspect of it, like I said, we got behind and put ourselves in a hole to try to catch up. And we weren't able to do that. So, we're gonna have to do a lot better here. We got to do better next week, and obviously we're gonna have to play Minnesota again, and we got to play better next time.
Matt, this is also the second straight week where you've not had 11 players on the field on defense on a critical play. Where is the breakdown there?
Obviously, those are things we got to get fixed. We got to make sure we handle those better. and communicate on the sideline better when those things happen. If we have an injury or if we have a situation where something comes up, to make sure communicate on the sideline better when those things happen. If we have an injury or if we have a situation where something comes up, to make sure everybody's tapped in with that. And we got to get it right from a coaching standpoint.
And just the last thing for me, going back to the improvement thing, why has there maybe not been, or where have you seen improvement from week 1 of the season until now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk a lot about consistency, and obviously that's one thing that's not, not been good enough. I think some guys individually have definitely improved and have definitely gotten better. It was really good to get Austin Bryant out there tonight. That was good. I thought he played well, but we'll look at the tape and obviously Trufant back out on the field, so that was good. But in those areas, obviously you play a game like we did today. There's not a lot of things that looked like we improved on. Obviously the punt rush, I thought that was good for another week in a row. So that was consistent, but overall, all of it's just got to be more consistent so that it works together and not like, one phase here and one phase there.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you.
Dave?
Hey, Matt, to follow up on Mike's first question, I guess, you're 3-5 now, midpoint of the season. This is 2, pretty shaky performances in a row. What do you sell, hope as, I guess, the rest of the way here?
Again, for us, I think it's about just, regrouping and going out next week. That's what we got to do. We got to play better next week. They're all 1-game seasons. That's what it is for us right now. Like I said, I think our guys are doing a great job of handling, everything from day to day. We just got to do a better job on Sundays, all the way across the board.
And, Stafford obviously didn't practice this week. I don't know what the 2 interceptions, how much did not practicing contribute to any of that? If you saw anything they did, and if that wasn't the case, what do you think led to those turnovers?
Obviously, I think Matthew did a great job all week of trying to get ready to go and prepare himself. It's kind of interesting, some of the technology that we have right now, and I thought we used it to our fullest, and I thought it was really good. These guys did an outstanding job with it. Obviously, getting the game, they've got great players that made some, really great plays out there, and that's going to happen, but we just, we got to protect the ball. We know that from that standpoint, and give them credit. I thought the game plan was really good defensively. I thought they had some really good pressures that they brought against us, some different looks. We know how expansive Zim's playbook is defensively, and they were dialing up some good plays. And then when they got ahead, they were able to kind of sit back in some coverage looks and take advantage of some things downfield.
And then last thing for me, the punt blocks. It's so hard to block a punt in this league. You guys have 3 now in the last 2 weeks. What do you attribute that success to?
It's just we've been working hard at it here all the way from training camp, and glad that's showed itself here in the last couple of weeks. It's something we got to keep doing. The punters are so good in this league; they just really are. So we've seen a couple of things where we thought we had a good opportunity too, and I'm glad we capitalized on them. But it changes each week. But I would say that's the one thing from last week to this week that I thought did carry over.
Thank you.
Okay, time for 2 more. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Matt. I just wanted to clarify real quick if Matthew got flagged by the spotter or whatever to come off the field on that play, if you could shed some light on what sort of went that process and then why he headed to the locker room then.
Obviously player safety is going to be first and foremost for us. I'm not going to get into the details of what happened, but, we saw the hit, and I think at that point, Cleat was trying to do a great job of just, making sure everybody was safe. So, we kind of all looked at it the same way, make sure he was okay. That's first and foremost. That's the most important thing. And then, they evaluated him from there.
And then just to follow up on what Dave asked, you mentioned Minnesota throwing a lot of different looks at you defensively. Is there anything that they did or that you weren't able to do because of the situation with Matthew through the week? Did you have to dial back anything offensively as you went through this?
Yeah. No, I think, we played against these guys for a long time, so I think a lot of the looks we've seen, we just I think they did a good job of calling it. I think Coach Zim did a great job of calling a game against us and mixing those things at the right time. I thought it really worked well for them, obviously, and like I said, they're strong through the middle of their defense. They've got some guys that can really disguise very well, and I thought those guys they did that against us, and obviously capitalized on it.
All right, last question, Justin.
Hey, Matt, this is a little bit big picture question centered around this game. You talk always about consistency and building as the season goes on. It's 2 straight. Your defense has given up more than 30 4 times this year. I'm just curious, as you're trying to find that consistency and trying to build, how deflating has that been for you as a defensive coach that you just haven't been able to get this right with this group?
I think they're trying to do it right every week. I think we got to go out and we just got to do our jobs better. And that's really the bottom line. I think there's a lot coming at everybody each week that's different. And, for us, we got to try to block all that out and just, make sure that we're doing the basic stuff correct and, do a good job in those situations of executing it out on the field. So from that standpoint, obviously, it's disappointing when you don't win. It's disappointing when you don't play well. So from that standpoint, we got to start by, coaching better and playing better and then see what happens from there.
Matt, we know this scheme works. We've seen it work in individual games here. We've seen it work many years across the league. So how do you break down this between personnel, execution, and play calling as the shortcomings here?
Yeah. I think first thing for me is, I just got to give Minnesota credit. First, I thought, Dalvin did an unbelievable job of running the ball today. I thought their O-lineman blocked us and, we weren't able to get off those blocks and make some plays and took advantage of some angles that I think were out there. But again, I would say, one of the most impressive things I thought was really the yards after contact. There was a couple of plays where we've got him right there where we need him, and he was able to kind of break free and turn those into some really big plays. So from that standpoint, give them credit first.
Thank you, Matt.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks.
Lots of credit to the Vikings from the head coach there and the job they did stopping the Detroit Lions today. He mentioned the yards after contact that the Vikings had as one of the reasons the Lions struggled to stop the Vikings themselves. We're here on the Detroit Lions postgame show presented by Priority Health. I'm Tori Petrie. Anthony Bellino is here on set with me. We've talked a little bit about this game, but we want to take you around the league and take a look at some of the games that have played out as the Lions have been on the field in Minnesota. So let's take you to some of those scores. Anthony, a few real interesting ones today. I'm going over on the right column, Kansas City and Carolina. The Chiefs really just eked that one out over the Panthers. The Panthers tried to kick a field goal as time expired to win that game. 67 yards. They did not get it, and Kansas City walked away with the win there.
Kansas City just always finds a way to win football games. I'm watching them, and they're 8-1 now with this victory today. Carolina played a really good game, but Patrick Mahomes threw for 370-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. Somehow, some way, the Kansas City Chiefs always find a way to win. Let's go right above that game as you see it on your screen. How about the Buffalo Bills? Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills with a 10-point victory over the Seattle Seahawks. Always very difficult to win road football games, especially when you have to travel coast to coast like Seattle did. But what a game from Josh Allen, 415 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And then the Tennessee Titans snuck one out against the Chicago Bears, 24-17. But that game really wasn't that close all throughout the first 3 quarters as the Bears scored all 17 of their points in the fourth and final frame of that game. So maybe some surprises there.
Well, the Lions' opponent last week fell to the Baltimore Ravens there on the left column. And then in the middle column, their opponent next week, the Washington football team, lost to the New York Giants in that NFC East matchup there. 2 interceptions to clinch the game there at the end. But a Washington football team quarterback, Kyle Allen, did leave that game with a pretty rough injury. Alex Smith stepped in, so that's probably who the Lions are going to be facing at quarterback next week.
Just continues to be a quarterback shuffle. That poor room over there in Washington. They just can't stay healthy. They started to make some changes and some adjustments there. After a couple of weeks with Dwayne Haskins moving out and just trying to figure out who is going to be the quarterback here moving forward. So I think looking around the league, maybe some surprising score. That Houston-Jacksonville game, 27-25 in favor of the Texans. That was a tight one there for Deshaun Watson and company to go on the road and pick up a much-needed victory in the AFC South. But there's some good games this weekend.
All right, good stuff around the league, Anthony. We appreciate you so much here on the postgame show. In just a few minutes, Lomas Brown will be joining me, so don't go away. We'll have more analysis coming in just a few minutes.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on food that's fresher than fresh? With the Kroger app, you can get personalized coupons on top of weekly sales and rewards like fuel points, all for prices that are lower than the everyday low. So go ahead, get lower than low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Priority shift from rush hours to slow breakfasts. From busy schedules to scheduled downtime. And as life happens, shifts and surprises are sure to follow. At Priority Health, we'll always be ready to shift with you, from complicated policies to ones written by humans. From a plan for one to a plan for three. Because your priorities have shifted, maybe it's time your health insurance did too.
Welcome back into the Detroit Lions post-game show presented by Priority Health. I'm Tori Petrie. We are breaking down the Lions' 34-20 loss to the Minnesota Vikings on the road today. And I am now joined on set by Lomas Brown, WJR analyst and Lions legend. Lomas, this was a very tough loss for the Lions. Lots of missed opportunities. What did you feel like went wrong for them today?
That was it, Tori. The missed opportunities. You had 2 blocked punts in the game that set you up, and you only got 3 points out of it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Our red zone efficiency hadn't been good, especially today. I think we were 1 or 2 out of 5 in the red zone. So we have to get better at putting up 7 points. 3 points just won't get it done in the NFL. These teams are too explosive. They put up too many points. You got to score 7 when you get the opportunity.
All right, we've talked about this already. The Lions were unable to stop the run today. Dalvin Cook had 206 rushing yards, 275 rushing yards for the Vikings overall. Why did you feel like the Vikings were so successful in the run?
Well, they came out aggressive. And Tori, we were taking the hits. We weren't delivering hits. And anytime you're on the defense or offensive line, you want to be the one delivering the hits. We weren't able to get off blocks as defensive linemen. So therefore, Dalvin Cook, Madison, they had little gaps that they can run through. And then they had the fullback, C.J. Ham, who was leading Dalvin Cook, especially on his 70-yard run. He was in there. So to me, it was a lack of adjustment on our part, and then it was a lack of aggressiveness on our part up front. We just let the Minnesota offensive line control us, and it just went downhill from that point on.
Something Matt Patricia pointed out in his press conference was he felt like the Vikings did a really good job of getting yards after contact. That kind of speaks to missing tackles, maybe. What did you see in that aspect, Lomas?
You hit it on the head, Tori. I mean, I watched Minnesota Vikings. Every chance they had to make a one-on-one tackle, they made it. Every chance we had to make a one-on-one tackle, we didn't do it often enough. You have to gang tackle, and that's what we haven't been doing enough of. We weren't getting enough hats to the balls, but when our one guy had the opportunity to bring down the guy for a loss or to bring this guy down by himself, we just couldn't get it done today. Minnesota did, we didn't.
Yeah, Minnesota definitely did a good job in that aspect. We saw Matthew Stafford throw 2 picks today before he left this game. What did you feel like was off with Stafford after he got off to a really great start?
He really did. I think the lack of the run game, I think, hurt him. Matthew, all quarterbacks, they need a run game. You see how effective it was for Kirk Cousins on all his play-action passes because they had ran the ball so effectively. I think with Matthew, we weren't really as effective as we needed to run the ball. So Minnesota, they just had their 4D linemen up there to stop the run. Everybody else, they pretty much either had in coverage, come up and tackle the receiver or whoever catches the ball, or if it is a run, tackle the runner on the way to the quarterback. So it worked so efficiently for the Minnesota Vikings. And if you look at it in contrast to what we did, we just didn't get it done today.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a look at the Vikings defense statistics. They had 2 sacks, but 7 quarterback hits and 3 turnovers. They did allow quite a few yards, but they were able to limit the Lions to just 20 points today, and that was certainly key. Matthew Stafford, obviously a very important part of this team, a very different week for him as he has, dealt with being on the COVID list, then being active today, being outside of the building all week and doing everything virtually. Do you feel like we saw any impact from that? I mean, to start the game, though, Matthew Stafford missed 1 pass, but then he had 16 straight completions.
But we did, Tori. We did. Think about it, Tori. He's human. You got your family. You thinking about COVID. You don't know whether you're testing positive. What about your small kids, your wife? I mean, there's so many things. You're in a hotel a week away from them, isolated from them. It's so many things go through your mind. And you know, as ball players, football players, we have a routine. And you want to be in that routine. And when it's thrown off, it can throw everything off. Matthew, like you said, he started well. But again, it had to affect him. He won't say it. Coach Patricia won't say it. But me being a former player, when you have things like this happen to you off the field, it can have a tendency of affecting you on the field.
Well, to add on to things, he left this game to be evaluated for a concussion, but he was able to speak with reporters after this game about what this week has been like for him. Let's hear from Matthew Stafford.
Hey, Matthew. Given the nature of concussions and stuff, can you just walk us through what happened on that play and how you were feeling? And we know that you've been cleared from the protocol, but just what happened on that play and how are you feeling?
I feel okay. Just held the ball too long. But doctors did their job and I cleared, so I'm good.
Do you feel any kind of symptoms from? Okay. And I'm curious about your week, what your week was like. Some of the guys have alluded to the things you were doing away from the team via Zoom and everything else to stay sharp. But what were you doing virtually and maybe physically, working out, throwing the football, whatever, to stay sharp for this game?
Yeah, mentally, obviously, just trying to be in every meeting I could be. Our video department and coaches did an awesome job of, making sure I was able to get into all those and be a part of it. Obviously, Chase and David did an outstanding job, preparing the guys. They were the guys out there at practice, getting the reps, and they did a nice job. And then I was just trying to do my part to make sure I was mentally and physically ready to go.
How are you physically working out? I mean, were you throwing the football to humans or, what were you doing to?
I was doing what I needed to do. Just trying to make sure that I was ready to come, and play well.
And just,
trying to make sure that I was ready to come, and play well.
And just one quick last one from me. The 2 interceptions there kind of were a backbreaker.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a rust thing? Did you just make mistakes there? What happened there?
Yeah, no, just mistakes. I felt like I was playing at a pretty good clip there for a little bit. Obviously, some throws I'd want back of it. The 2 interceptions were bad decisions. Really, the first one, bad decision. The second one, just poor throw. Got to throw it probably a little bit higher. 54 is a really good cover backer in this league. He had his back turned to me. Thought I could sneak it by him, and he turned right as I kind of released the ball. So, obviously wish I just would have sailed that one out of the back and at least let us get 3 there. I think we moved the ball well in between the 20s. We just didn't come away with enough points, and that's the name of the game.
Thank you, Matthew.
Justin?
Hey, Matthew, just first of all, how's your daughter doing?
She's doing okay. Appreciate you asking.
Good. Hey, you completed 16 straight throws there after the initial incompletion on the deep ball. A lot of short stuff, and I'm just wondering if that was by design with the way the week worked, or was that just something maybe you were getting from the Vikings?
No, we were calling, plays down the field. They were just playing a bunch of too high coverage, ultra deep. All the backers were extremely deep as well. Anytime we went play action, they were turning and running. So I was just trying to take what they were giving me, and that was the underneath stuff at the moment. They did a nice job of kind of playing a little bit of bend, don't break. And, obviously did a great job in the red zone, and that's what got us.
And I think we all kind of understood Kenny wasn't going to be available pretty much from the start of the week. How did you find that the offense operated without him, with Quintez and Marvin filling in a lot of those reps?
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys did a nice job. 87's a young guy. It's all new for him, but he's doing a nice job when he's getting his opportunities. MH is, been around, and so he understands what it's like to go out there and play. And then obviously, Marv is the guy I've played a bunch of football with. So I felt comfortable out there today. I just didn't play well enough.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yep.
Mike Rostian?
Hey, Matthew, glad to hear Hunter's okay. CBS reported before the game that you actually were on your way home and that you basically told Bob Quinn that, listen, we don't have anybody to take care of our kid, like our kids. You have to find something else to do. First of all, can you walk us through that a little bit? And is that accurate?
I'm not going to walk you through it. It's a long story. But, yeah, I was on my way home.
And just, I mean, I know you walked a little bit about the week in general. Was there a point where you thought you wouldn't be able, besides obviously when you were heading home, that you would not play this week?
I mean, that was probably the closest it got. And obviously it just depended on if I continue to test negative. But the plan, early on in the week was if I continue to test negative, that I'll be able to, show up on Saturday night and do all the meetings virtually and all that kind of stuff, and then play. So the week was obviously a different one, a little bit of a stressful one, but no excuse, got to come out and play better.
And the last thing I got for you is where have you seen improvement in this team from week one?
Oh, week one, that's taking me back. I think every week is a new challenge. You don't sit there and I always say it, just because you play good one week doesn't mean you're just going to roll the ball out there and play well the next week. You got to prove it every week and every day in practice. And obviously, our record isn't what we want it to be at this moment. There's a lot of football left and a lot of games left, but we just got to prepare better and then come out there on Sundays and play better.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Matthew.
Dave.
Hey, Matthew, just to follow up on Mike's question about heading home, was that when you were here already, or was that back when you were in quarantine back home that you were about to head home for home?
Oh, that was when I was
last
back
night.
Yeah.
Okay, back in Michigan. And were you staying in a hotel? Is that what was going on in Michigan? I mean, to isolate back there?
Yeah, I think I still am.
All right. Do you have to stay in isolation going forward for how long?
That I don't know the answer to. I wish I did.
Yeah. How long do you have to? How did you get here? Can you walk us through that story too? I mean, you took a private plane, or what'd you do to get here exactly?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Saturday, can't play with the team and can't be around them, so flew private here. Luckily, we're staying right by the airport, so got to the hotel. They had food dropped off at my room, and I ate, and then woke up this morning at 5 and took a couple COVID tests. Was negative, and then they cleared me to play. Kelly shared a little bit of this on Instagram. I don't know, you seem a little frustrated by this whole process. This is your second time in the protocol. Can you just, how much is this wearing on you? Just this whole situation of everything that's, that you have to go through to play this year, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I understand it. It's not something that, I take lightly. I understand it's a pandemic and people's health and safety are at risk. And I would feel terrible if I brought that in and infected a bunch of teammates or coaches or whatever it is. So I understand it. Doesn't make it easy, but everybody in the league's doing it. I just hate being away from my family. Finish a practice, finish a game, go hug my daughters, hug my wife. That's that's what sometimes makes it worth it for me, and not being able to see them and hang with them has been really tough. But there's other people dealing with the same kind of stuff I am. But that's just the hard part for me.
You get to fly home with the team now. You just have to stay separate from family for the time being.
I believe I can fly home, but I hope. Otherwise, I'm hitching a ride with one of you guys. No, I can fly home, I believe, and then I don't believe I'm allowed to go see him. So
I got the upgrade at the Marriott if you do have to stay. So last thing, and I apologize because we just, this is all new to us too, so we're just trying to figure out some of those questions. But just the football one, if you answer this, I'm sorry I missed the start of it. The interceptions today. Can you just, I don't know, not see the first guy? What happened on those plays?
Yeah, obviously a mistake on the first one. Probably should have gotten the ball out a little bit earlier to a guy, on the front side of that rather than getting all the way back through to Hawk. 50 did a nice job of just kind of sitting in the window. And obviously I didn't see him there, otherwise would not have thrown it. But can't just trust that he's not there. And then the second one, I just got to throw that ball higher. 54 is a good cover player, and he did a nice job. Turned his head at the last second. When I cut it loose, he wasn't looking at me and thought I could sneak it by him. And obviously he turned around and made a good play.
Thank you.
Okay, one more real quick. John Hammond.
Hey, Matthew, I'm glad to hear that Honey's doing well. It's going to sound strange, but just kind of on a human level, how do you each week with the things that go on with the team and the losing and the COVID and all of this. I mean, it's a lot of extraneous stress, and you're a dad and you're a guy and beyond football. How much, to follow up on Dave's point, does it weigh on you? Just the balance, the pros and cons of playing and going out there and risking health and things like that.
It weighs on me. I got a lot more grays in my beard now than I used to, but that might just be age too. But no, I love playing this game. This year has been difficult for everybody. Everybody in the league, everybody around the world. I mean, this is a really unique situation and a really tough one. I'm one of the people that's lucky enough to get to do their job. As tough as it is, there's a lot of people out there that don't have a job anymore because of this stuff. So, I feel blessed to be able to do what I do. Doesn't make it easy, and it's not easy for any of us on this Zoom or anywhere. So I understand that. But yeah, I mean, I've got great support. I got great support from, my wife and family and kids and everybody. So, it makes it easy. Obviously not seeing them is tough. But there's a lot of people not seeing their kids for a lot of different reasons. So just got to, continue to push forward and try and be better.
Great. Thanks, Matthew.
A very captivating press conference from QB1 there on this week and the toll it has taken on him. We are so happy to hear that he has cleared concussion protocol. He does not have a concussion, but certainly a tough week for Matthew Stafford, being separated from his family as he quarantined away from them. Did not get to fly with the team yesterday. He said that he flew private to Minnesota, but Lomas, you talked about it and just the weight that all of this has on a player. He made sure to recognize that he's one of the lucky ones. He still has a job during this. Many people have lost their jobs, and he understands why the protocols are the way that they are, but that didn't make it necessarily easy to go through.
No, it didn't. And Tori, just think about he didn't practice with the team. So that's going through meetings, just all the little things that you try to do, the chemistries you try to get with your receivers during the week, the motivation you try to give your team, coming off a tough Indy loss. You look for your quarterback to motivate you during that week of practice. He couldn't do that. And you talked about the ordeal with his family. So it had to be a tough week for Matthew. It's hard to compartmentalize everything. It really is. That's why they call them professionals, because you have to go out there and do it. And I'm glad to see his appreciation for the common folk, people like he said that have lost their jobs. He's lucky to have the type of job that he has, and I'm glad that he appreciates that too.
Well, it's good to see the human side of these guys as well, and very happy to hear that his daughter is doing okay after his wife posted about a little health scare with her last night. So we're very thankful that both Stafford and his daughter Hunter are doing okay. Guys, we've got more for you in the post-game show in just a little bit after this quick break.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on food that's fresher than fresh? With the Kroger app, you can get personalized coupons on top of weekly sales and rewards like fuel points, all for prices that are lower than the everyday low. So go ahead, get lower than low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Show off your Lions pride with the official Detroit Lions debit card offered only by UMCU. Choose how you will represent your team with 3 signature Lions designs. UMCU enhances your banking experience with access to a convenient mobile app, nationwide network of ATMs, and 24/7 online banking. Plus, cardholders get special member-only offers from the Lions. Join UMCU to get your exclusive Detroit Lions debit card today. Visit umcu.org. Welcome back into the Detroit Lions postgame show presented by Priority Health. I'm Tori Petrie. We are breaking down the Lions' 34-20 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm here on set with Lomas Brown. Lomas, we've talked about a little bit of the struggles. One of the positives, though, was on special teams. Yes. What have you thought of what they've been able to do with these block punts these past couple weeks?
It has been so wonderful to see that. I mean, when you don't count on the offense or the defense to do something and special teams steps in and come up with 2 big plays, that was real huge. I just wish we could have capitalized more off of that, but Braden Coombs seems to have this special teams on another level. They had one last week. Miles Killebrew got one last week. So it's just level. They had one last week. Miles Killebrew got one last week. So it's just good to see special teams starting to show up. Hopefully in the return game, we could start getting a couple of big returns. That would be nice too, but I'm so happy that's the plays of the game.
They are our plays of the game. So let's take you guys to our play of the game and break down what happened in those 2 blocked punts. Lomas, take us through it. This first one was from Austin Bryant.
Yeah, it was just a great rush by Austin. He came from the outside, and when I was playing, our special team coaches always tell us, block the ball low, and that's what he do. A lot of guys like to try to come high and block it. He blocked it low. It was just a great block by Austin Bryant. Glad to see him out there on the field too,
Absolutely.
Tori. Yes.
Nice big play from him after being activated this weekend. And here's the second blocked punt. This one was from Romeo Okwara.
Yeah, Romeo did a great job of coming in the middle, getting penetration. And again, Tori, his hands weren't high. His hands were low. And we were always taught when you block a punt, the best way to block punts is to get your hands low. And that's just what he did, able to get that big old mid on it. And that Colquitt kid had a tough day for Minnesota back there today.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he was really doing much wrong. It's just the Lions were doing a whole lot right. And then you got to see the rookie Quintez Cephas pick the ball up and run that one back, and it turned into a touchdown.
Tori, you know my affection I had for him, Cephas, during training camp. I thought he had a great training camp. Hadn't seen much of the young guy so far in the season, but hopefully as we go along, we'll see what that young man has to offer.
Well, the Lions weren't able to do anything after that blocked punt, but like I said, after Cephas picked the ball up, play later, Lions offense turned that one into a touchdown. So that was an opportunity that they were able to take advantage of, but certainly lots more they left on the table today. So we'll look ahead now to what the Lions have in front of them as they face the Washington football team this next week. Lomas, when you look at this team, they lose to the New York Giants today. Probably a switch at quarterback there with the injury that they faced with Kyle Allen leaving that game. What do the Lions have ahead of them this next week?
Well, to be honest with you, I wish Kyle Allen would be back there because now you're probably going to get a veteran quarterback like Alex Smith. And when you face veteran quarterbacks, it's hard to blitz against those guys, Tori, because they've seen everything. So what we're going to have to do is be fundamentally sound against Washington. And, of course, you know where it's going to start at, Tori. We got to stop the run. If we don't stop the run, everything else comes off of the run. Play action passes, your shots downfield, every screen plays, draw plays, everything works off the run. So I know Coach Patricia, the coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball, their number one thing has to be to stop the running game. And on the offensive side of the ball, like we talked about today, score 7. When you get the opportunity, especially in the red zone, you got to put up 7 points. You can't put up 3 against these high-powered offenses. You got to score 7 each and every time you get a chance.
So when the Lions go back to the meeting rooms this week, they look at the film from this game against the Vikings. What's one thing you think they need to really hammer home this week in order to improve and hopefully get a win next week?
The thing I hope they hammer home is fundamentals and aggression. Fundamentals mean being in the right gaps, doing your 2-gap technique, doing any technique that you have to do correctly, and being aggressive, Tori. Hit somebody in the mouth. I mean, to me, I think teams look at the Lions like, okay, we could beat this team. You know, we should be able to beat this team. The Lions got to look at it the same way. They got to come out with the same way. Like, this is a team we know we should beat. You got to come out and you got to hit them in the mouth. And if you hit somebody in the mouth early, guess what, Tori? They'd be like, ooh, maybe I don't want to fight them anymore.
All right, well, there's Lomas's game plan for the Lions game against the Washington football team next week. Certainly not where the Lions wanted to be halfway through their season. They now sit at 3-5, 8 games in, 8 games left to play. We'll see how they fare next week against Washington. We'll be here, of course, breaking down the game before it happens and then afterwards right here at Ford Field, and we hope that you will join us. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Postgame Show presented by Priority Health today. For DetroitLions.com, I'm Tori Petrie.